Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing a Q&A, answering some different questions that you've left on my YouTube channel and also over on my Instagram. Some of these questions I have not provided a very lengthy response to because I feel there's a lot more to them and the response is somewhat loaded. So I wanted to make sure that I answered them fully. If you're new to my channel, my name is Melissa and I am a police officer and currently a lieutenant in a large metropolitan police department. And I've been doing this for about 15.5 years now. With my responses comes what has happened within that experience in my law enforcement career. And I'm gonna share that with you in these questions. So the first question that I'm gonna answer, because you put it so many times, was what do you carry as an off-duty weapon? So I carry a Glock that is exactly like my duty Glock. I like having the same weapon because I'm so familiar with shooting it that if I did need it at some point, I would be able to easily access it. I also carry a Glock 380 subcompact, I believe it's called. I'm not a gun person, so it's just a small version basically of my duty weapon in a 380 format, and it's very similar, just smaller. I like having the option of that. I know it's not, you know, as accurate for shooting, but typically if you do have to use your weapon, you're gonna be in a close quarter situation. So I feel confident being able to use that weapon, and that is really what matters most. You're familiar with and you know how to use your weapon if you need to. But I will say too, just for people who do carry, you know, firearms, just be familiar with and able to draw that weapon from wherever you're gonna holster it. So in the event of something actually happening, you would be ready in that context, that you can just grab your weapon, draw it, and use it if you need to. The next question is, what are my thoughts about becoming a police officer later in life and older police candidates? I think that if you meet the qualifications and you can do the physical fitness exercises essentially, and you meet the standards for physical fitness and everything else, I don't see an issue with that if that's what you really want to do. I think for a total career change to law enforcement, that's a little bit unusual, but I think that's great. I think you should do what you want with your life, and if being a police officer is something that you've decided you want to do later on and you're able to do it and you're ready to do it, I think that's wonderful. You should do you and live your truth, for sure. That's what I would say to that. And don't let anything that anyone else says to you bother you either, because people don't know what they're talking about half the time. This is probably gonna be the longest question that I'm gonna answer. Because there's a couple questions in it. So the question is, can you please comment more on if you've noticed how the public treats you as a female police officer? Do you feel like you get respect from your fellow officers? First of all, with the public treating you differently, no, I don't think so. Obviously, everybody is different and people are gonna notice those differences. So whether it's your race, your gender, just the way you look, whatever that is that's unique or specific about you, people are going to notice and they could say something about it. So obviously men and women also have different physical abilities just from our biology. So I do think that more suspects are probably, especially male suspects, are more likely to run from a woman because you're just not gonna be as fast as a man. You could be as fast as that man or another man, but just if you're gonna look at it from a perspective of, is it likely for you to be faster than them? Probably not, but that's definitely something that I think that they notice. And I also came out policing in the time when the song, I think is it Ms. Officer or Mrs. Officer? I don't know. But that came out and that was very annoying for about a year. They had to say something, they had to sing the song. But other than that, I don't think it is an issue. I think it depends a lot too on your agency and your culture, and when you get into respect from fellow officers, this is where I've had really mixed experiences. So it's different when you are an officer. So another officer can say something to you and you can just come right back at them with something, with whatever it is you want to say to them or about them, and really, I don't want to say trash talk, but you can really just say whatever. You know, what is another officer gonna do or say to you? But when you become a supervisor, you're supposed to be at a different level and be more professional, and that definitely limits what you can do to kind of bark back and defend yourself against people who would do or say things that they shouldn't, especially about you being a woman. I will say though that the majority of officers that I worked with over the years, the overwhelming majority, 99% I would say, do not treat you any differently. Everybody gets along really well, everyone enjoys working together, but you do have that, I would say maybe 1% as officers, and you can just tell them what they are, in my opinion. I will say though, I had many supervisors who I think felt that it was their job to make things more difficult for women. I think that they liked doing that, and I think that they engaged in behavior that was intentional, and I do believe it was because I was a woman. And one thing too that surprised me, especially when I made lieutenant, I thought that I would be working with supervisors and people in my organization who clearly they had gotten to the next level and they would be more professional, and it would be just a different environment. And it was a different environment, but not how I thought it would be. And I had several supervisors who very openly harassed and bullied me, and I think this is because I was a woman. I don't think that they wanted me in that group with them. And again, I thought surely working with supervisors after I'm a lieutenant, it only can get better from here. People will only be more professional from here. But I was so incredibly wrong about that, and I experienced, quite frankly, the opposite. What I will say about that though too is currently in my assignment, I am with a great supervisor and have since dealing with the horrible supervisors, then now dealt with really great supervisors. So I don't think it's super common, and I think that these people clearly have issues within themselves that they need to figure out so that they don't have to attack other people. And just because somebody isn't pushing you or slapping you in the face or physically harming you doesn't mean that they're not trying to do things to harm you, to harm your reputation, to damage your career. And again, I was shocked by this because I had already dealt with my fair share of difficult supervisors, but this was on a whole another level. When people are willing to lie about you, when people are willing to make things up about you simply because they don't like you and they don't want you around, you know, and I didn't fit into their group, their little group of friends or whoever they thought they were, it's really disturbing. It was very disturbing to me. I don't think that's normal behavior, and I'm not saying that if you become a supervisor, that's gonna happen to you, or even if you work for a police department, that's gonna happen to you. But I would highly encourage you that if you are in a situation where you feel like your male coworkers are treating you differently or they're not treating you with respect, say something directly to them and stand up for yourself. And like I said, it's different with coworkers, in my opinion, than it is with supervisors. And if it's a supervisor, go up your chain of command. You have to go up your chain of command and you have to say something. I'm not saying that anything is going to be done that's going to be drastic or change that person and what they're doing, but I do think that it sends a message and communicates to them that you're willing to say something about their inappropriate behavior. The next question is, do your coworkers know about your YouTube channel? And yes, I do have coworkers that know about my YouTube channel. Funny story, it actually ties into what I was just talking about. So when I first became monetized on YouTube, I wanted to do everything correctly and make sure my agency knew that that was something that was happening. So my supervisors at the time took that information, but looked me up on YouTube and decided to circulate that around my department basically. I think that was because they were trying to make fun of me and further harass me. So they would show it to people and be like, oh, she has a YouTube channel. Like, she's talking about law enforcement on the internet. I think for older people it's harder because they don't really understand how much younger people come to YouTube, and nothing could have shown me this more than the young officer who I met being hired onto my agency who watched my YouTube channel. So they decided that they would circulate this to make fun of me, and my friends came across it, and so many people have come to me and said that's actually really cool, and you're talking about law enforcement and you're educating people on it, or if they're interested in law enforcement, you're giving them more information for it. I really enjoy my YouTube channel and I enjoy the community that we have here. We all talk and discuss and ask questions, and I think it's great, especially in a time when not as many people want to be police officers. I think it's wonderful to have a community where we are talking about all of this together. I know a lot of you are, some of you are police officers already, or you're starting the academy, or you're interested in law enforcement, and I think it's great. I think it's still an incredible time to become a police officer. I just think you have to be a little bit more careful with how you do it and where you do it. On to our next question. I think I'm gonna end with this one because this is getting lengthy. This question is, what is it like being a mom and a police officer? So I think that any job that you have that is full-time, that's outside of your home, where you're leaving your house and you're going to do that work. And I know work from home, I'm not saying work from home jobs are easier, but I think that's extremely hard, period, as a mom. I think one of the hardest things with being a mom and working in law enforcement is definitely the schedules, the scheduling, the 24/7 shifts and coverage. I think that's very difficult for a mom because childcare hours for your typical daycare are very limited. When my husband was working and we were both in public safety, we had to get really creative with in-home childcare and nannies. But if you don't have friends or family that can help you with your kids that are close to you, I think that is going to be the hardest thing and one of the biggest struggles. And there was a comment on one of my videos not too long ago, and it was asking if I thought a newly postpartum mom, essentially, if she should do the academy now or if she should wait. And I just, as soon as I read that question, I just tensed up and cringed because it is so hard after you have a baby. And the academy, at least our academy, was so incredibly intense. You'd come home and just be exhausted. I could not imagine having a small infant like that, not even to mention everything that's involved getting back into shape after having a baby. And I couldn't imagine doing that as a new mom. You know, doing the police academy and having an itty bitty baby. My honest opinion to her was to wait. The police department, police academies, those aren't going anywhere. Okay, those are gonna be around forever. We're always going to need more police officers. What won't be forever is your baby being a little baby, or your children in general. They should be your first priority, and then the police department, law enforcement, all of that should be your second, in my opinion, as a mom who works in law enforcement. And then you're out there doing a very dangerous and very risky job, and you have little people who depend on you. I do know that law enforcement is just an incredible career, and it's worth it. You're gonna have to make sacrifices in different places, and if that means that your passion is to be a police officer, you're obviously gonna have to leave your home to do that, to work. I think you have to balance that with other things that you love in your life. I also think it's very doable, and I would definitely encourage women to continue to pursue law enforcement. There's a lot of opportunity. Yes, there are challenges, but if you are motivated to do what's necessary, I think it's 100% possible. If you have any other questions, you can leave them down below, and I'm sure I will answer them in another Q&A at some point. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and as always, you stay safe out there, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. My name is Melissa. Whatever it is that makes you different.